In the shadowed confines of the Galactic Union's council chamber, a tense silence enveloped the assembly of diverse alien dignitaries. At the heart of this interstellar conclave, Minister Vral, a towering figure with iridescent scales, addressed the gathered officials. Esteemed leaders, our expansion is threatened by a burgeoning force, humanity. Their rapid advancements in technology and space exploration demand immediate action, Vral announced, his voice resonating across the chamber. Opposite him stood Zelka, the Empire's top assassin, whose humanoid appearance belied his lethal training. Next to Zelka, General KYZ, a burly figure with deep-set eyes and a scarred visage, leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Minister, what action do you propose?" His voice was a low rumble, his demeanor always hinting at a readiness for conflict. Vral turned to a holographic display, flickering with images of Earth and statistical data showcasing human progress. "Our usual methods would involve direct elimination of their leadership to sow chaos and halt their expansion. For this, I turn to Zelka, our most effective operative." All eyes shifted to Zelka, who stood calmly, his features impassive yet his mind racing. The directive was clear, but something within him stirred, a doubt fostered by his many covert observations of humanity. "With respect, Minister, I've observed humans closely. Their culture is rich, their spirits indomitable. They could be valuable allies rather than targets," Zelka replied, his voice even but firm. Murmurs filled the chamber. An ally from the aquatic planet, Olorin, draped in flowing robes, spoke next, his voice a soothing flow. "Zelka has a point. We risk much with aggression. Could there not be a path of diplomacy?" Vral's scales shimmered with a hint of irritation. "Diplomacy? They are young, naive. We can control them now before they become a true threat." Zelka met Vral's gaze, unflinching. "We have always assessed our targets thoroughly. My recommendation is based on extensive research. Humans possess a unique potential. Misjudging them could backfire spectacularly on us." General KYZ grunted, interjecting, "Potential for chaos is also potential for strength. Could they not someday turn against us if they discover our intentions?" "Exactly my concern, General. If we handle this poorly, we might invite not just resistance but retaliation that we are not prepared for," Zelka responded. A lean figure at the end of the table, Ambassador Tyreek, who had been silent, now spoke. His voice was sharp, cutting through the growing tension. "Perhaps a demonstration of goodwill might be in order. Invite their leaders to a summit. Gauge their reactions. Test their mettle before we decide any drastic measures." Vral considered the suggestion, his expression unreadable. After a moment, he nodded slowly. "Very well. Zelka, arrange this summit. But be ready to proceed with the original plan should this effort fail." Zelka bowed slightly. "It will be done. We will see if humans truly merit the fear they inspire in the Council." As the meeting adjourned, the Council members dispersed, leaving Zelka with his thoughts. He knew this mission was unlike any other, a test not just of humanity's capabilities, but of his own convictions about the true path to galactic peace. Chapter 2. Arrival on Earth. Zelka's shuttle glided silently through the Earth's atmosphere, touching down in a discreet location on the outskirts of a bustling metropolis. The designated meeting point was a serene park, known for its ancient trees and sweeping views of the city skyline. Jonathan Mitchell, the appointed Earth liaison, was already there waiting. Dressed in a smart suit, he stood relaxed, a digital tablet in hand, ready to greet his interstellar visitor. As Zelka exited the shuttle, his human-like form blended seamlessly with his surroundings, though his eyes betrayed a hint of otherworldly intelligence. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Zelka," Jonathan greeted, stepping forward with a warm smile and an outstretched hand. "Thank you, Mr. Mitchell," Zelka responded, taking the offered hand. His grip was firm, almost too perfect in its human imitation. "Please, call me Zelka." "Then you must call me Jonathan," he replied with a chuckle. "Let's take a walk. I imagine after your long journey, stretching your legs on solid ground must be a welcome change." As they strolled through the park, the city's distant hum fading behind them, Jonathan briefed Zelka on the current geopolitical climate and the rising interest in interstellar diplomacy. "Humanity has been quite eager to establish meaningful connections with other civilizations," Jonathan explained. "Your visit is viewed with great optimism." Zelka nodded thoughtfully. "My people value strength and strategy, Jonathan. But I must admit, there is much we can learn from each other. My mission is to assess and report, though I find myself intrigued by the possibility of true exchange." Jonathan smiled. "That's a hopeful perspective. Not all humans are ready to trust extraterrestrial visitors, but many of us believe in the potential for a peaceful future together." Their path took them by a tranquil pond, where they paused to watch the ducks glide across the water. This peaceful moment allowed Zelka to subtly shift the conversation towards his personal doubts. "Jonathan, in your experience, what do you believe is the greatest misconception your people have about outsiders?" Zelka asked, his tone genuinely curious. Jonathan considered the question. "Fear of the unknown. It leads to misconceptions. We often assume extraterrestrial life will bring conflict, but I believe dialogue like ours can pave the way to understanding." "I share your sentiment," Zelka admitted, his gaze lingering on the peaceful scene before them. "In truth, I was instructed to prepare for all outcomes, including those that might require less diplomatic solutions." Jonathan met his gaze, his expression firm. "Let's prove that diplomacy can be the solution, Zelka. What better way to challenge old fears?" As the afternoon sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park, the two men made their way back towards the city. The discussion had moved from formalities to shared interests in technology and culture, building a rapport that Zelka had rarely experienced on such missions. "Tomorrow, I'll take you to our cultural exchange facility. You'll see firsthand how humans absorb and adapt foreign cultures, perhaps something for your reports," Jonathan suggested with a hopeful tone. "I look forward to it," Zelka replied, his mission parameters expanding beyond his original orders. Perhaps, he thought, this assignment could redefine the future relationship between their species, not as overseers and subjects, but as equals. Their first day on Earth concluded with a quiet dinner at a nearby restaurant, where they continued their exchange under the guise of a typical earthly outing, drawing less attention than Zelka's true origins would warrant. As they parted ways for the night, both men felt a cautious optimism about the days ahead. The seeds of friendship, and perhaps something greater, were sown. Chapter 3. The Moral Dilemma. Jonathan picked up Zelka early the next morning, his car humming quietly through the early traffic as they headed towards a renowned nature reserve on the outskirts of the city. Zelka's curiosity seemed piqued, his gaze wandering over the changing landscape as they left the urban sprawl behind. "This reserve is a place of peace and reflection for many," Jonathan explained as they entered the lush, expansive grounds. "It's a good spot for open, honest conversations." Zelka nodded, stepping out of the car to breathe in the fresh, earthy air. A fitting setting for today's discussions, then. As they walked along a shaded path, Jonathan broached the subject of Zelka's mission more directly. "You mentioned last night that your orders were flexible, depending on the outcome of your visit. What did you mean by that?" Zelka looked out over a serene lake, considering his words carefully. "My superiors see Earth's rapid advancements and fear what it might mean for the balance of power. I was sent to assess whether humanity poses a threat." "And do you believe we do?" Jonathan asked, his tone light but his eyes searching. In some ways, any rising power poses a potential threat, Zelka replied honestly. But threat does not necessitate hostility. It can also invite partnership. Jonathan stopped walking, facing Zelka squarely. Is there a chance for this partnership? What would it take? It would require seeing humans not as subjects to be controlled, but as equals. Zelka's voice was firm, his conviction clear. That is not a common perspective among my people. Jonathan resumed walking, leading Zelka to a viewing platform overlooking the park's vast expanse. Here on Earth, we've had our share of conflicts, power struggles, even wars. But each time, we've found that progress comes faster through cooperation than conflict. Zelka followed him onto the platform, watching a pair of eagles soaring high above. I see the wisdom in that. My own experiences, observing your people, have shown me a different way. But convincing my superiors could prove challenging. That's why your reports from this visit are crucial, Jonathan said, turning to face him. You could frame Earth as a potential ally rather than a target. Zelka's gaze lingered on the horizon, a decision weighing heavily on him. My report could indeed sway their views. It's a significant burden. Jonathan placed a reassuring hand on Zelka's shoulder. Let's ensure your report is filled with positive interactions, then, starting with more of Earth's natural beauty. They spent the rest of the day exploring various parts of the reserve, discussing human history, culture, and values. Jonathan shared stories of Earth's diplomatic successes and failures, highlighting the lessons learned. Zelka listened intently, absorbing every detail. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the land, they sat on a bench, watching the day come to a close. Zelka turned to Jonathan, a thoughtful look in his eyes. Jonathan, today has shown me much about your world and your people. It gives me hope that there could be a peaceful path forward. Jonathan smiled, sensing the shift in Zelka's perspective. Let's aim for that. Tomorrow, we can discuss more on how to present this to your leaders. Their conversation drifted to lighter topics as they made their way back to the car, the weight of the day's discussions giving way to a sense of camaraderie. The drive back to the city was filled with plans for the coming days, both men committed to forging a path of mutual respect and understanding. Chapter 4. Closer Encounters. After a day immersed in nature and deep conversation, Jonathan and Zelka returned to the city, their minds buzzing with ideas and a newfound understanding. Jonathan invited Zelka to his apartment for dinner, a gesture to show a slice of human life from a personal perspective. "Welcome to my home," Jonathan said as he unlocked the door, leading Zelka into a modest, well-organized space adorned with art and personal mementos. "Thank you for inviting me," Zelka replied, taking in the surroundings with an appreciative eye. "It's quite comforting here." Jonathan chuckled as he headed to the kitchen. "Wait until you try some homemade cooking. It's not gourmet, but it's hearty." As Jonathan prepared the meal, Zelka helped by setting the table, a simple act that felt surprisingly intimate. The domestic setting provided a stark contrast to their official interactions, adding a layer of casualness to their evolving relationship. "So, Zelka," Jonathan began as they sat down to eat, "today was enlightening. I sense a change in how you view our potential relations." Zelka nodded, sampling the food with an expression of approval. "Indeed, I am seeing many things in a new light. Your hospitality only deepens my respect." The conversation drifted towards personal territory. "Back home, what do you enjoy doing in your free time?" Jonathan asked, genuinely curious about Zelka's life beyond his duties. "I enjoy studying ancient civilizations and exploring the arts of diplomacy practiced across different worlds," Zelka shared, his tone reflective. "It seems we have some interests in common." Jonathan smiled, pleased. Perhaps tomorrow we could visit some cultural landmarks, dive a little into our history and arts. Would that interest you? It would, Zelka replied, his interest piqued. Understanding the heart of a civilization often lies in its cultural expressions. Dinner passed with more light-hearted exchanges, both men laughing and sharing stories from their respective worlds. After they finished eating, they moved to the living room with drinks in hand, settling into a comfortable silence that spoke of a deepening trust. Jonathan then turned the conversation towards more serious matters. Zelka, if you decide to report positively about humanity, what challenges do you anticipate facing with your superiors? Zelka's expression sobered. Resistance to change, skepticism about human intentions, fear of losing control. Convincing them requires more than just my word. It needs a compelling narrative. Perhaps, Jonathan suggested carefully, your experiences here, your interactions and observations, could form the basis of that narrative, showing them humanity through your eyes. That is my hope, Zelka said. These days with you have not only shown me your world, but also reminded me of the value of individual connections. As the evening wore on, the conversation deepened, touching on dreams, fears, and aspirations. It was during one of these moments that Jonathan reached out to place a comforting hand on Zelka's. Surprised by the gesture, Zelka didn't pull away. Instead, he turned his hand to grasp Jonathan's, acknowledging the gesture's significance. Jonathan leaned in slightly, guided by the moment's intimacy. Zelka, there's much about Earth to love, not just our landscapes and culture, but the connections we make. I hope you can feel that too. Zelka met his gaze, his eyes reflecting a mix of emotions. I do, Jonathan. More than I expected. The night ended with a promise to explore more of Earth together, both men aware that their relationship was shifting, becoming something neither had anticipated but both valued deeply. As Zelka left, they exchanged a look that confirmed a mutual understanding. Their connection would significantly shape the course of their missions. Chapter 5. Refusal to comply. The next morning found Jonathan and Zelka heading to a secluded conference room within the Earth government's diplomatic sector, a space reserved for sensitive discussions. Jonathan had arranged for a secure, private setting to discuss the final strategy Zelka would present to his superiors. As they settled into the room, Zelka opened his digital communicator, displaying a complex array of data and notes. Jonathan, today I must finalize what I will report. The choices we discuss here could redefine our civilization's futures. Jonathan nodded, understanding the gravity of the moment. Let's go through your observations and frame them in a way that highlights potential for collaboration instead of conflict. Zelka outlined the key points he had gathered: humanity's rapid technological advances, the rich cultural heritage, and the potential for strategic alliances. However, he paused when it came to discussing the resistance he anticipated from his own leaders. I know my refusal to follow the original directive, eliminating key human leaders, will not be well received, Zelka confessed, his voice steady but concerned. It's a drastic deviation from the mission. Jonathan leaned forward, his expression serious. Your courage to stand by your convictions is commendable, Zelka. How can I help you make your case? We need to emphasize the mutual benefits. An alliance with Earth could bring advancements in technology and culture that would benefit my people as much as yours, Zelka suggested, tapping on his device to bring up relevant data. Right, Jonathan agreed. Let's draft a statement that presents these benefits clearly. We'll need concrete examples to persuade those who doubt. The two spent hours crafting a detailed presentation, incorporating evidence of Earth's goodwill and achievements. They highlighted collaborative projects that had successfully integrated different species, suggesting a model for future interactions between humans and Zelka's people. As they wrapped up, Zelka looked at the final draft with a mix of satisfaction and apprehension. "This is strong, Jonathan. But if my superiors demand that I revert to the original plan—" "Then you'll need a plan B," Jonathan interjected, understanding the risks involved. "Is there anyone in your command who might support your new perspective?" "There are a few," Zelka admitted. "Allies who also see the outdated approach our leaders often take. Reach out to them discreetly," Jonathan advised. "Gather support internally while presenting your report. It's not just about changing tactics. It's about evolving your civilization's entire approach to other species." Zelka nodded, grateful for the support. "I will start making calls tonight. And whatever happens, Jonathan, I want you to know how much your friendship has meant to me. It has given me the strength to stand up for what I believe is right." Jonathan smiled, placing a hand on Zelka's shoulder. "And whatever comes, you have allies here on Earth. We believe in what you're doing." With their plan set, the meeting ended with a firm handshake, each man committed to their cause. As Zelka left the building, he felt a resolve he hadn't known before. This was no longer just about fulfilling a duty. It was about forging a new path for his people, and for a future where they might stand together with humanity as equals. Chapter 6. The Empire's Response. The following days were a whirlwind of activity. Zelka, back on his ship orbiting Earth, made discreet communications to his allies within the Empire, while Jonathan coordinated with Earth's diplomatic corps to prepare for any possible outcomes. Zelka's presentation to his superiors was scheduled via a secure interstellar video link, and he was ready with the comprehensive report he and Jonathan had meticulously prepared. As the appointed time arrived, Zelka faced the screen, which flickered to life, showing the stern faces of the Galactic Council, waiting in the dim light of the council chamber. "Zelka, you are to present your findings on the human civilization." "Proceed," commanded the head of the council, a figure shrouded in shadows. "Esteemed members of the council," Zelka began, his voice calm and clear, "my mission to Earth revealed a civilization vibrant with potential allies who possess not only advanced technology, but also a profound capacity for cultural and diplomatic exchange." He proceeded to detail the aspects of human achievements, emphasizing collaborative projects and the benefits they could bring. Zelka was careful to present his data convincingly, highlighting opportunities for technological advancement and shared knowledge. However, skepticism was palpable even through the screen. "You speak of potential and benefits, Zelka, but what of the risks? Humans are known for their unpredictability and ambition. How do you suggest we manage this alliance without exposing ourselves to danger?" one council member challenged. "By fostering an environment of mutual respect and cooperation, we can mitigate these risks," Zelka replied. "I propose a series of cultural exchanges and joint ventures to build trust and interdependency." The council murmured among themselves, not fully convinced. It was then that an unexpected voice joined the conversation. General KRYZ, who had always been a proponent of strength over diplomacy, spoke up. "I've known Zelka for many cycles, and his judgment has never faltered. If he sees a path for alliance that could strengthen us, I suggest we consider it seriously," KRYZ declared, his tone unexpectedly supportive. Surprised but grateful, Zelka used the opening provided by KRYZ. "With respect, we stand at a crossroads. Choosing the path of alliance and growth over isolation and potential conflict could redefine our place in the galaxy." Another council member, previously silent, finally spoke. "And if your assessment is wrong? If humans betray this trust and turn their ambition towards us? I have secured assurances from Earth's leaders, and I believe their desire for peace is sincere. We can establish initial agreements with strict terms and observe closely. We have much to gain and can control our exposure," Zelka countered, standing firm. The debate continued for hours, arguments circling as the council weighed every word Zelka presented. Finally, the council decided to tentatively explore Zelka's recommendations, but insisted on strict oversight and the right to reassess at any sign of trouble. After the call ended, Zelka felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. He had managed to steer the council away from immediate conflict, but the future remained uncertain. Back on Earth, Jonathan met Zelka as he disembarked from his shuttle. How did it go? They agreed to explore the Alliance. Cautiously, Zelka reported. Thanks to your help and some unexpected support from General Careway. That's good news, at least a start, Jonathan replied, clapping him on the shoulder. Let's make sure this initial phase goes so well that they can't help but trust us. As they walked back towards the diplomatic offices, the weight of their task loomed large, but so did the opportunity. Together, they would work to forge this new path, one careful step at a time. Chapter 7. Begging for Mercy. The diplomatic channels between Earth and Zelka's empire were abuzz with activity. Initial exchanges and low-level cooperation projects were underway, with both sides cautiously optimistic. In this time of tentative peace, the broader galactic community began to take note, with several other civilizations expressing interest in the unfolding human-alien collaboration. Jonathan and Zelka convened in a secure conference room on Earth to discuss the progress and plan the next steps. Both knew that the success of these early stages was crucial to ensuring the continuation of their efforts. Zelka, the feedback from the joint ventures has been overwhelmingly positive so far, Jonathan began, flipping through the digital reports. It seems we're making real progress. Zelka nodded, his expression thoughtful. Yes, but we must remain vigilant. My council is still divided, and some members are waiting for the slightest misstep to revert to the original aggressive tactics. As they strategized their next moves, an urgent message arrived from Zelka's home planet. The council demanded an immediate update, hinting at rising tensions within the Empire about the ongoing peace initiatives. The tone was pressing, bordering on hostile. Zelka sighed, a sense of urgency palpable in his voice. It seems we need to present our case again. This time, we must be even more convincing about the benefits of this alliance. Together, they prepared a detailed presentation, highlighting the successful outcomes of their initial projects, technological exchanges that had led to advancements in medicine and energy production, cultural festivals that showcased human creativity and alien perspectives, and diplomatic talks that paved the way for more substantial treaties. Armed with data and positive testimonials, Zelka addressed the council via live transmission, Jonathan by his side for moral support. As the council members appeared on the screen, their faces stern and expectant, Zelka began his plea for continued cooperation. Honored council members, I stand before you again to report on the progress of our historic initiative with humanity. Not only have we gained invaluable technological insights, but we have also forged a path toward a stable and beneficial alliance, Zelka stated confidently. The presentation unfolded, with visuals and data flowing seamlessly to under each point. Jonathan watched as some council members nodded thoughtfully, while others remained stoic and unconvinced. As the presentation concluded, the head of the council, a rigid figure who had been skeptical from the start, spoke up. Zelka, these achievements are notable, but how do we know this peace will last? Humanity is known for its unpredictability. Zelka responded with a calm yet firm resolve. It is precisely their capacity for growth and change that makes them ideal allies. They adapt and overcome challenges in ways that can benefit us all. Turning away from this alliance now would be a loss we cannot afford. There was a pause, a tense silence hanging over the transmission. Then, another council member, previously a critic, admitted, "Your reports, Zelka, and the testimonials from our own scientists and cultural advisors have been compelling. Perhaps it is we who must adapt and accept this new way forward. The council deliberated further, the tide slowly turning in favor of the alliance as the evidence of mutual benefits became undeniable. Finally, the head of the council sighed, a sound of concession. Zelka, you and your human counterpart have shown us a new path. It appears we must, indeed, embrace this alliance. The Empire begs for the continuation of this peace, and for mercy in overcoming our own doubts and fears. Relief washed over Zelka and Jonathan as they realized the significance of the Council's decision. They had not only averted a crisis, but had also set their civilizations on a path of mutual respect and cooperation. Thank you, Council members. We will continue to work diligently to ensure this alliance flourishes, Zelka promised, a weight lifted from his shoulders. As the transmission ended, Jonathan and Zelka exchanged a look of triumph. Their dedication and hard work had paid off, paving the way for a brighter, shared future. Let's keep this momentum going, Jonathan said, optimism clear in his voice. Together, we'll make this work. Yes, together, Zelka agreed, more hopeful than ever about the alliance they were building. Chapter 8. A New Dawn. The early morning sun cast a golden glow over the city as Jonathan and Zelka met at a scenic overlook, a place where they had spent many hours discussing the future. Today, they met not just as diplomat and envoy, but as architects of a new era. Look at this view, Zelka, Jonathan said, gesturing towards the sprawling city awakening below. It's a new day for both our people. Can you believe we've come this far? Zelka smiled, his eyes reflecting the city's light. It's more than I had hoped for when I first arrived. And it's all starting right here, with us. They sipped their coffee in companionable silence for a moment, each lost in thought about the journey that had brought them to this point. Finally, Zelka turned to Jonathan, his expression serious. Today I'll be setting up the first interstellar cultural exchange center right here in this city. It will be a place where humans and my people can learn from each other, share experiences, and grow together. Jonathan nodded, clearly pleased. That's going to change so many lives. And it's just the beginning. We have plans for joint educational programs, research initiatives, even space exploration missions. Yes, and with each step, we will dissolve the barriers of fear and suspicion that once seemed insurmountable, Zelka added. Our collaboration could become a model for other civilizations watching us from afar. The conversation shifted to the practical steps they would take in the coming weeks. Zelka outlined the construction plans for the exchange center, while Jonathan discussed the upcoming diplomatic tour that would bring Earth's leaders to Zelka's home planet. As much as we've achieved, there's still a lot of work to be done. We need to ensure the foundations we lay are strong and enduring, Jonathan said, his tone a mix of excitement and determination. I agree, Zelka replied, and I think it's crucial that we continue to be involved in every step. Our personal commitment has been key to this success, and we can't step back now. Jonathan looked out over the city again, his gaze contemplative. When I think about how this all started, with so much uncertainty, I realize how rare and precious this peace is. We've built trust where there was none, and hope where there was doubt. And for that, Jonathan, I am profoundly grateful to have met you, Zelka said, extending his hand. Your friendship has been a guiding light through this process. Jonathan clasped Zelka's hand, firm and sure. And I, yours. We started as representatives of our people, but I'm proud to call you my friend. As the sun rose higher, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the city buzzed with the promise of the day. Cars streamed along the roads, and distant figures moved through the streets, each person a part of a larger, interwoven tapestry of life. Let's go, Jonathan said, finishing his coffee. We have a busy day ahead, and many more to come. Zelka nodded, energized by the prospect. To the future, then. Together. Together, they walked back to their vehicles, ready to face whatever challenges and triumphs lay ahead, knowing that their shared vision was not just a dream but a reality taking shape with each passing day. This new dawn was not just for them, but for all who would follow in their footsteps, looking to the stars with wonder and hope.